There are things in this city, in this world, that no one wants to admit are real.
Okay, you're creeping me out.
Lost navigation control. I can't stop our descent.
And then back with them. Okay?
Please.
I do.
Sanctuary is like this very homegrown effort that we want to work at the highest level of quality and exposure. We want the world to see it, and we want the world to see that Canadians can make TV that competes at the highest level all around the world. I wrote it back in 2001 and wrote this crazy story about a woman who runs a private medical clinic and has Bigfoot as a butler and co-opts a young psychiatrist to help her, track down monsters and help people. And there was a boy with an appendage that went into people's brains and ate it. And then, everyone went, well, this is interesting.
Whoa, hey, whoa, time out a second, time out, everyone just calm down.
The Sanctuary Project actually first came to my attention when Damien came into my office and went, here, read this. And he gave me a script. And came back in about an hour later after I'd read it, and he said, what'd you think? And I had tears coming down my face and said, I didn't know you could write. Then Damien threw another thing at me. He said, hey, you think it'll make a series? And I went, are you kidding? This is perfect.
He really liked it, which surprised me because literally I hadn't thought about that script in a long time. It went further when he said, we've got to show it to Amanda. And I said, oh, you think? Really? Amanda Tappy? You think? And she loved it. She loved the character. Amanda being born in Britain, it was a nice fit. So it all came together well.
No, not until you tell me why this ghoul is such a problem.
Because he'll kill us both.
Amanda understands how this show is meant to look and feel beyond playing Magnus. So there's a good Three Musketeers feel.
Damien and Martin and I set out on this little journey together and would go for lunches and dinners and just go, oh my God, we're gonna make this show. And then we couldn't have brought in a nicer person in Sam Egan.
But she doesn't actually.
He's old Hollywood in his way of thinking. A handshake really does mean something.
He's just an amazingly creative and passionate and talented man.
The story is ultimately what binds Sanctuary together. We have the cool factor of, a virtual show and using this new camera and creating all these different looks. We can be almost anywhere in the world with the VisFX portion of it, but at the heart of it, if it's not a good story, who cares, right? People who have watched the rough edit with no visual effects in it have loved it and have loved the story. So I think as long as we have that, and so when I read it, I was like, this is an amazing story.
Tell them this is far from over. Now, get off my property.
It was a great read. The characters are compelling. It had a great sense of adventure. It's a genre that I have a personal affinity for, and so it was exciting.
Does this look cool? Lower? There, natural. That looks very natural.
Wonderful thing about the show is that it is only limited by our imagination. There's a time frame in this show of about 150 years. And what our world has gone through in 150 years is enormous. The stories that can be told and broadened and manipulated for our purposes is boundless. If this show flies or falls, the only thing to fault it will be our imagination and the imagination of the people watching it.
Today's audiences are not so stratified and picky. I think everyone has preferences, but I think more people are watching more different types of programming than ever before. So I think Sanctuary tries to appeal to that. I don't necessarily like sci-fi shows that are big and shiny. I think that there's something a bit alienating about that. I think that if there's something very old and dusty and interesting about them that collides with something new and forward-thinking, you've found something kind of fresh.
Let her go. When I read it, I didn't actually think of it as sci-fi. I thought of it more as a graphic novel kind of feel to it. But I think the parameters of sci-fi have been so blown open. We're not just in space anymore. It's anything that defies imagination or steps outside and forces you to think about things that maybe aren't real, fits within that outside-the-box thinking.
Welcome to the Sanctuary.